Hello guys, today we're watching this story. This guy been going viral and all of this that stuff. It's going viral. So let's watch his recent shorts. And I just woke up like 3 minutes ago. And yeah, let's go ahead and start. Yes, let's go.
I carefully set my new laptop on my couch and stood up to get a drink, but then my rich friend walked over right where I was sitting. My legs are tired. He picked up my new laptop and chucked it towards the sofa. It bounced off the edge and hit the ground, and I heard a crack, but he just plopped on the couch and leaned back, scrolling his phone. I ran over with my fists clenched and knelt down. Why the hell would you throw this? I worked all
Sorry guys, I have a cough.
summer for it. I held up the laptop with a spiderweb crack down the screen, but he just laughed. Relax, dude, my dad is a millionaire. He'll get you a new one. He pressed his phone to his ear, but when a few minutes later the door opened, a man in work boots and sunken eyes walked in. I was confused because he had holes in his shirt and didn't look like a millionaire at all, but my friend just called out, "Hey dad, I accidentally broke his laptop. Buy him a new one." His dad sighed and looked at the broken laptop. How much was it? $1,200. I gulped, and he instantly gripped his head in horror, whispering numbers to himself I couldn't hear. But my friend just snapped his fingers. "You heard him, Dad. $1,200. Now." He went back to scrolling his phone, and that's when the man's face twisted as he looked at his son. "I don't know what you think this is, but you must have forgotten that your real dad didn't want you. He gave you to me because he found you insufferable, and I don't have the kind of money he does." My jaw dropped, and my friend's face instantly went red with embarrassment. His thumb stopped on his screen, but his dad continued. "$1,200 is my rent money. Do you understand that?" I was about to tell him it's okay, he didn't need to get me a laptop, but he was already reaching into his wallet. He pressed the $1,200 into my chest with his shaking, calloused hands. I tried to refuse because this was his rent money, but he shook his head. "Take it. I'm responsible for him." My friend smirked because he'd gotten his way, but then the man reached over and grabbed my friend's phone. "But I'm selling this to make my rent money back." My friend lunged for it. "You can't sell my phone." But the man dropped it in his pocket and turned for the door. My friend stood there, red-faced with tears running down his eyes, and that's when the man turned back to him at the door. He smiled. "I love you like my own son, kid. That's why I'm not letting you get away with being an entitled brat." I carefully set my teacher ripped the switch out of my hands mid-Hollow Knight boss fight and dropped it in her desk drawer. Mrs. Deborah slid the drawer shut and pointed at the clock.
Yeah, cause why would you be playing in school, bro? Like, what? Are you stupid, bro?
Back after class. 2 weeks I'd been stuck on Nightmare King Grim, Hollow Knight's hardest fight. I'd snuck the switch in to grind through lunch and was one phase from beating him when the bell rang. I figured I could finish in class, not knowing today was test day. Now it was locked in her desk while she was passing out science tests. I was working through question 3 when her shoulders caught my eye. Hunched forward, brow tight, tongue poking out the corner of her mouth. 5 minutes in, I caught a sound from her desk, faint and unmistakable, and it was my boss music. Her thumbs were moving under the desk in tiny, precise bursts,
your teacher is a gamer, bro.
Flinched like
Like
she'd taken
me.
a hit. I raised my hand and asked for the bathroom. She waved me out without lifting her eyes, and I walked the long way around her desk. There it was, my switch wedged into her lap, Hollow Knight on the screen, 3 swings into the Nightmare King fight. I went back to my seat and stared at the test without reading a single question. The bell rang and everyone filed out, and she called my name. She slid the switch across her desk without looking up from her gradebook. "You were one phase out from beating Nightmare King Grim. I had time during the test, so I finished him for you. Saves at the next bench. You're welcome, kid." I almost laughed out loud. I picked up the switch, and the thumbsticks were still warm. My science teacher just cleared Hollow Knight's hardest boss during a science test, and I couldn't wait to tell the boys. Ha! When a firefly bit me at a cookout, I dropped my burger and texted my boss I quit because I knew I'd just been chosen. I'd seen every superhero movie ever made. A bug bites you. You wake up swinging between skyscrapers. My brother asked if fireflies even have teeth, and I told him destiny doesn't answer stupid questions. I gave myself 1 week to master my powers and find my first bad guy. Day 1, I stood in my living room and snapped my wrist at the wall like I'd practiced 100 times. Nothing came out but a sneeze. I figured my powers just needed to warm up. Day 3, something twitched on my back, and 2 wings the size of my thumbnails unfolded behind me. I screamed so loud my neighbor
What the freak?
banged on the wall. I could fly. I climbed onto my window ledge 2 floors up, spread my arms, and jumped. The wings flapped exactly hard enough to do absolutely nothing. I went straight down into the dumpster behind the building. Lying in a pile of banana peels, I noticed my hands were glowing.
I was about to ask why the hell your hands is glowing, bro.
Like a nightlight in the middle of a sunny afternoon where nobody could even tell. That was my big superpower. Not webs, not flying, not super strength. Just a human glow stick that was completely useless. The harder I panicked about wasting my one shot at being special, the brighter I
Stupid
grew, and I sat in that dumpster, ready to give up. That night, I walked to the corner store still glowing, ready to tell everyone the Firefly thing was a bust. Two guys came sprinting out with the register in their arms, headed right for the car parked behind me. I was so scared, I lit up like a stadium, so both of them threw their arms over their eyes and ran face first into the streetlight pole. They dropped on the sidewalk next to the busted register, out cold. I stood there glowing over two knocked out robbers, and the superpower I swore
like
was
a
useless had just stopped a
firefly.
robbery. I jumped up and down, then dropped to my knees crying, because I really was.
Oh, now let's go to his popular shorts.
My twin brother Chris and I were 9 when we learned Morse code. We tapped messages under the dinner table when Mom told us to stop talking and tapped through the wall between our bedrooms every night. When Chris got into a car accident and the doctor said he'd never wake up, I pulled up a chair next to his bed,
bro,
took his hand,
RIP,
and tapped.
bro.
Are you there? Nothing. But I came back the next afternoon and tapped again. Before I left, I always said the same thing. See you tomorrow, Chris.
This is what
A week
you call
later,
never
Chris's
give
fingers
up,
twitched
bro.
against mine,
Never
and I almost
give
fell
up.
out of my chair. I grabbed a nurse and she barely looked up. They're reflexes. It doesn't mean anything. I bought a notebook the next day
is, you
and started
stupid
writing
ass.
down every single one. 4 months in, Mom watched me scribbling and said, "How long are you gonna keep doing this? Until he taps back. He's not gonna tap back. You're talking to a corpse." Dad lasted a few more months.
Nah, bruh. Y'all don't care of your son, bruh?
Before he pulled me into the hallway. We need to talk about donating your brother's organs. His fingers moved every time I...
Donating, bro. You gotta donate your own son. Are you stupid or are you stupid?
Hold his hand, Dad. The nurses said those are reflexes. Stop getting your hopes up, son.
Why do people believe so easily, bruh?
I don't care
They just believe everything nowadays.
the nurses say. You're not donating my brother's organs. But a week later, my
Yeah.
parents called to have Chris transferred to a long-term facility to die and scheduled a meeting to sign the papers. The afternoon before the meeting, I tapped into
What
his
the hell
phone
is
like
that
always,
sound,
but this
bro?
time, something tapped back. Short,
Oh!
short, long,
Dang.
short, SOS. I grabbed his hand. "Chris, if that's you, squeeze once." He squeezed so hard my knuckles cracked. I stormed into the meeting room and told them my brother just responded to me. The caseworker said, "This is very common with who aren't ready to let go." My parents nodded. I grabbed the transfer papers off the table. "You're not signing anything until you come see for yourself." I walked them to Chris's bed and grabbed
Oh,
his hand.
yeah.
Didn't ask him anything. The caseworker asked what year it was. Chris
For
squeezed
real,
out the
El
answer. Count
Perez,
to
bro.
5. 5 perfect squeezes. His mother's name, tapped out letter by letter. By the 10th question, she said, "He's still alive. We can't move him." Weeks later, I asked Chris what kept him fighting when everyone gave up. Heard Mom call me a corpse. Heard Dad say donate my organs. Heard all of them leave, except you. I asked why. I wanted to see you too. My twin brother, the flight
Dang.
attendant, slipped me a napkin that said, "The pilot isn't who he says he is. Meet me in the back to talk." I knew she chose to tell me because of the military dog tags around my neck. I folded the napkin and slid it into my pocket, and that's when the captain's voice came over the intercom. "Good morning, folks. This is Captain Hopkins, expecting smooth skies to Chicago." But something was wrong. I could feel it in my bones. I waited 2 minutes and casually walked to the back, not knowing what to expect. The flight attendant was there with a man holding up a police badge. The man whispered, "I'm glad you're here. I'm an undercover cop." I knew something was wrong straight
Okay.
away. The flight attendant whispered, "I've flown with Captain Hopkins for 6 years. I don't exactly know what's wrong, but I know that's not Hopkins, and we're flying the wrong way." She showed me the flight map of where we were heading. The plane is heading toward an abandoned airport. I leaned over the map. My body was pumping with adrenaline because it was the perfect place to crash a plane. There's an empty space above the pilot's room. I can climb up and listen to what the pilot and co-pilot are planning through the ceiling. Take my number. If you can tell there's something fishy going on, text me one word, now. That's the signal to move. And to distract everyone while I climbed above the ceiling, the flight attendant made an announcement on the speakers to tell everyone to keep their seatbelts on. Through the cracks, I could hear 2 men in the pilot's room talking. 15 years ago today, our brother died because of Captain Hopkins. Now we get to crash his plane with him tied up on it while we impersonate him. I texted the undercover cop. Now, the cart slammed into the pilot's room door, and the cop kicked it open. I dropped through the ceiling and tackled the fake pilot out of his seat. The cop pinned the
Oh, yeah.
The flight
Oh,
attendant
yeah.
grabbed the radio. Mayday, our pilot is gone. We need help landing right now. She looked at me. Find Hopkins, the actual pilot. He has to be on this plane somewhere. I sprinted to the back of the plane, checking every door. I yanked open the closet next to the bathrooms, and Captain Hopkins was inside with his hands tied and tape across his mouth. I ripped the tape off. Get me to the controls. He ran to the front and dropped into the pilot's chair. He grabbed the wheel. Tower, this is the real Captain Hopkins. I'm landing this plane. When we finally landed, the cops dragged the brothers off in handcuffs.
Oh yeah!
Came up to me in the
Oh
aisle. I took
yeah!
a napkin out of my pocket and held it up. You saved 200 lives with this. She smiled and took it back. The flight attendant.
Nah, give your number to that girl, bro. You got Riz, bro. You got Riz. Now let's go to the again latest, and then let's just scroll around, and then let's pick this.
My daughter took out her extremely short shorts from her shopping bag. Look, Dad, aren't these cute? All the girls in my new school wear stuff like this. My face drained of color as she kept going with her shopping haul because she started pulling out extremely cropped crop tops, sports bras, and short skirts. I opened up her wardrobe. Honey, those are extremely inappropriate. Plus, I thought you loved your jeans and maxi skirts. She crossed her arms. I don't see a problem with them, Dad. Stop being so controlling. I sighed because my daughter was giving in to peer pressure, and I had no idea how to prove my point to her until 2 days later when I heard her on the phone promising her new friends she'd be at the party on Saturday. That day, I ordered an outfit from Amazon in a size XXS that looked exactly like what my daughter was wearing. When Saturday evening came, she left the house in the shortest blue shorts I'd seen yet, paired with a tube top. I waited an hour before I started driving to the party my daughter was at, wearing the same short blue shorts and tube top she'd worn that day.
Bro, what are you
As I walked in, the whole party turned to me, and I saw my daughter at the front completely red. Everyone watched as she stormed over to me. Dad, did you come here in short shorts too?
Is bro a boy or a girl, bro? Like, why is she walking like that? Like, what the hell?
Humiliate me and prove a point about a stupid outfit? I put my hands on my hips and did my best girl voice. What? They're not even that short? A few seconds later, someone finally broke the silence and burst out laughing. A girl in the back said, "This is totally something my dad would do." The girl that looked like she was popular smiled. Maybe this shorts trend is a little weird. My daughter laughed nervously.
Yeah, y'all are freaky dicky asshole, bruh. Bro turned into Ice Spice. Yo, you know what? You know what? Bro, no, that is for real. You know what? Not you, mother freaks. Yeah, bro look like he turned to Ice Spice, bro.
Our relationship or not, but the next morning while getting dressed for school, she took out the jeans buried in the back of her closet. I guess these are pretty cute too. I made one bird noise at lunch, and Sean threw a chicken nugget at my face. Everyone at the table had dared me to do the hawk again, so I tipped my head back and let it rip across the cafeteria. For 1 perfect second, even the lunch ladies froze. Sean picked up a nugget, fired it across the table, and hit me on the cheek. Do a real talent, bird boy. I could copy any bird in the state. Red-tailed hawk, mourning dove, the angry blue jay outside my window, even the ostrich boom that sounded so fake my dad had laughed until he coughed. Nobody cared. They just wanted the show. So I shoved my tray away while Sean flapped both arms and squawked into his milk carton. That weekend, our class took a bus to a petting farm for the spring trip. Sean spent the whole ride pecking the air beside my ear until the teacher moved him 3 seats back. We were halfway through the goat pen when a gate banged open behind the barn. Nobody had mentioned an ostrich. Came around the corner at full speed, neck stretched out, feet hammering dirt, headed straight for the little kids lined up by the fence. A farmhand sprinted after it waving a rake. The ostrich kicked once, and he crashed backward into a hay bale. A teacher tried to block it with both arms out, but the bird hissed and swung one huge foot toward her knee. Sean climbed the fence so fast his jacket ripped on the wire. The little kids backed into the corner, crying against the boards, and the whole class went still. My mouth went dry. I knew that hiss. I had practiced ostrich sounds for a week from a nature video because nobody believed a bird that big could boom like a drum. I cupped both hands